to welcome you to this event sponsored by the Education and Affiliate Membership Committees of the Bucks County Association of Realtors. My name is Pam Croak. I'm honored to be the CEO of the Bucks County Association of Realtors. This event today is one in a series of events that we've had since a year ago. Hard to believe it's been a year, but it has been a year since we've been virtual. We're pleased to bring you this virtual event titled Getting Ready for the Spring Market. It's an exciting time. You know, the spring market changes every year for you folks, right? For realtors, and this year is no different. In fact, I would say this is actually probably the most different spring market that you all have had, and I'm hoping that this event will help you to get ready for it. We are asking, I have a couple of housekeeping items to take care of before we start with our presenters. Number one, we ask that everyone put your microphones on mute during the event so that our speakers can have the maximum amount of bandwidth here. Also, if you have questions, we ask you to put your questions into the chat. The chat is found at the bottom of your Zoom screen. You can hover over the little bubble that says chat. You can write your question into the chat, and it will be addressed at the end of the session. So that's how we're handling that. So mute your mic, and we would like everyone to be on camera if you can. It's easier for our speakers if they can see your smiling faces. You can imagine it's difficult to have these presentations if you don't have anybody looking back at you. So thank you for that. So without further ado, what I'm going to do right now is introduce you to our president of the Bucks County Association of Realtors, Dana Gray. Dana, are you there?
Thanks, Pam.
Thanks.
Yep, I'm here. Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, it is not morning anymore. I also want to thank everybody for joining us today. I also want to thank the affiliate committee for putting this together for our members. And just remind everybody that we have an amazing and thriving affiliate committee. There are more than 100 different vendors offering their services and expertise to you throughout your business and your transaction to help you and your clients. So please don't forget to check out the affiliate directory that is updated often and can be found on the BCAR website. And, reach out to those affiliates when you're in need of any type of service or expertise throughout your transaction. And that's all I have for you today. I'm super excited myself to hear what the presenters have to share with us. And I'm going to pass it back to Lisa.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Dana. Thanks, Pam. Before we do begin, we just have a brief polling question that we'd like everyone to answer. It concerns future events. So Siobhan is going to launch the poll. And if you could just take a moment and answer, it would be appreciative. Siobhan, should we try to do it at the end? I was having issues getting it up, the poll question up. Are you able to do it?
It's launched. Everybody, we have 84% responding, so I believe we can end the poll and move on.
Oh, it didn't come to me because I'm the host. Okay. Yeah. That's why.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Well, welcome again to our program, Getting Ready for the Spring Market. And Thank you again to all of our affiliate members who are participating in this today. It's my pleasure to introduce our first speaker. It's Amy Allman from Draper and Kramer Mortgage Corporation, and she's going to give a financial update. Thanks, Amy.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. Small disclaimer, I'm working from home, so please disregard any and all background noises. I apologize in advance. I hope everyone's having a great week. I'm super excited to share some Draper and Kramer's mortgage programs. I'm just going to touch on a few of the basic requirements for these programs. If you guys have any questions, feel free, to reach out afterwards so everyone has the time that they need to get in what they're going to discuss. First, I'm sure as many of you are aware, Bucks County Housing Group offers a first-time home buyer program, which is organized by Sherry Pace. She's amazing. Here are a couple of the qualifications. The buyer would need to be a resident of Bucks County for at least 6 months. The buyer cannot have owned a home in the past 3 years. The buyer cannot have any interest in any other real estate. Obviously, the property needs to be located in Bucks County. Debt to income ratios cannot exceed 41%. And please note the program does have income limits. The yearly income for one person would be $63,100, and for a family of two would be $72,100. Next, we have an FHA loan program that accepts a minimum credit score of a 580. Max debt to income ratio is per our automated underwriting system. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Fannie Mae DU and Freddie Mac LP. 2 months reserves are needed. 401k funds are allowed, and we can use 60% of the balance as a reserve. The 3.5% down can come from the borrower's own funds or from a gift. Please note gifts for buyers, if they're going FHA, will need to come from a family member. We do financing on 1 to 4 unit properties only. The minimum loan amount will be $40,000 and the maximum loan amount will be $356,362. A full appraisal will be required. Collections and charge-offs less than $2,000 are not required to be paid off. And collections and charge-offs greater than $2,000 must be paid off prior or at closing. We do allow for Chapter 7 and 13 bankruptcies, but we'll need a 2 full-year period, must have elapsed since the discharge date. Student loans also must be current. That's something I've been coming into often, that they're in collections and we cannot entertain the loan unless they are current and the borrower will not qualify. Max seller assist, since it's FHA, is 6%. I'm going to roll into our VA loan program. We also go down to a 580, 100% financing, no mortgage insurance. We have a loan limit up to 1.5 mil. Loan limits over 1 mil, however, do require a credit score of 700, and we need 2 months reserves. Gift funds are allowed for closing costs and reserves. And then the max seller assist on VA is 4%. Next, we have a jumbo loan program, 10% down, 90% loan to value with a credit score of 680. Loan amounts up to $850,000. We offer standard mortgage insurance rates on these programs, so they're getting the same MI rates that they would get on a conventional, conforming loan. Currently, as of today, rates are at 3.25. We also offer 5.5 adjustable mortgages with a rate of 1.74% for a cost of 1 point. We also offer doctor loan programs. We have 5% down, 95% loan to value with a 700 credit score up to 1.25 mil, 10% down, 90% loan to value with a 680 credit score up to 1 million. Any doctors who are participating or will be practicing within 90 days of closing are eligible for this program. This is one big key factor because I'm sure you guys are all aware student loan debts weighs things down quite a bit, but the student loan debt belonging to the borrower may be excluded from the debt to income ratio with proof of deferment or forbearance for 12 months. So that's a big plus. Gifts or grants may be used for minimum contribution with a credit score above 740 and a debt to income ratio below 41. Another program we have is 100% financing. Old 80/20s, I'm sure you guys are familiar with. 720 credit scores required. It's only available on a 1-unit owner occupied. Buyer will need to contribute only 1% of their own funds. They can obtain 6% seller assist because it's an 80/20. And we also offer 5, 7, 10 one-arms, which are adjustable rate mortgages. The first rate would be a conforming rate of 3.5, and then the second would be prime plus. And then Draper and Kramer also offers FHA, Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae renovation loans. And we have a fix and flip program with a maximum loan to value of 75% of the after completed value. I've been working in the industry for 20 years. Draper and Kramer is very competitive with their rates and extensive programs. Me and my underwriters and my team work diligently to get all loans approved. Our current turn time is only 4 business days on purchases. So we've turned that around pretty quickly. I really appreciate everyone taking their time and their interest today. Feel free to reach out to me or my assistant, Eva. She's going to put her email address in the chat box. And I hope you guys can get out and enjoy this beautiful day. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy, very much. And again, if you have any questions for Amy today, just put it in the chat box, and we will certainly address all questions at the end of the program. Our next speaker is Greg Emmons. And Greg is an attorney with Goldstein Partners, and he's going to be talking about the contract, swimming pool and spa addendums. Thanks, Greg.
You're certainly welcome. In fact, I've been an attorney for 44 years. I just had to count that. A real estate attorney in Bucks in the Delaware Valley area, doing transactional work and also litigation. Talking about swimming pools, it's almost time to open them up. The best thing if you're an agent and selling a swimming pool or having a buyer buy one, you don't have to clean it or maintain it. If you've had a swimming pool, that's not an easy job. And now I'm going to focus on the contract and information I can offer in my experience. The standard form agreement of sale. You noticed in paragraph 7, it does include in the agreement of sale, the pool, spas, hot tubs, including covers and cleaning equipment. If you have a seller that wants to exclude any of those items, then you need to put it down on paragraph 7D. Okay, this is pretty standard operating procedure, but I'm just trying to point out where focus are on this. Next, the swimming pool is included in the inspections, the pool and spa. However, unfortunately, many times the pools and spas are not open and available to inspect in an open and operating condition. As an agent, you want to do everything you can to see that the pool is open so that it can be inspected before closing. If that's not possible, then you really are recommended to obtain an escrow agreement and escrow funds sufficient enough to make the repairs necessary after closing. Otherwise, you're going to have an unhappy buyer. Under the agreement of sale, again, as I stated, the home inspection includes the pool and the spa. However, there may be additional items that you would want to add at the very end of the agreement, such as the provision for escrow. The next thing is, again, a par form that I just wanted to go over briefly, and that's the seller's property disclosure statement. In the seller's property disclosure statement, there is a section that concerns pools and spas, and also a section that includes additional items that are included in the sale: pool spa heater, pool spa cover, pool spa accessories. Now, let me focus on what's important for an escrow agreement. The escrow agreement should start out with provisions such as the seller hereby represents and warrants that the pool and or spa was in good working order and serviceable and has been operated without known defects during the blank season, which would be the last season. It's also very important that you put in the escrow agreement, or if you don't do escrow, in the agreement of sale, the seller has or will provide to the buyer on or before the date of inspection all service invoices, manuals, and pool construction documents, including permits and approvals. You're going to want to see those. They should go along with the seller's disclosure statement, but if not, added in the agreement of sale that those need to be provided before the inspection. The escrow agreement would then provide, if you cannot open it before closing, that the pool and spa will be determined as to the conditions are fully functioning under all mechanical systems, anything in need of repair, physical conditions, tiling, coping, deck, fencing, pool and or spa coverings. So you want to really be specific so there's no uncertainty. And then a typical escrow agreement, which you've had probably experience with, would go on and provide how much money is going to be put in escrow, how long it's going to be in escrow, what's going to happen when the inspection for the pool is completed, how much of that inspection is going to be the seller's responsibility, or how much is going to be the buyer accepting as in the condition it was at the time of the sale. There are certain minimum things that whenever you do an inspection for a pool that you should make sure are covered by the inspector. And there are inspectors that inspect pools rather than just homes, or there are home inspectors that have also been certified for inspection of pools. You want to get a certified inspector for pools and spas. In-ground pools are different than above-ground pools. Each have their own issues. There's 5 items that you want to make sure are involved in the inspection: water quality, fencing and decking, recirculation system, the heating system, and then general requirements such as the lighting, the electrical, the coping, all the materials that could prevent some sort of a hazard. And talking about hazards, insurance. A buyer should be alerted that they need to insure their pool for various damages. A homeowner's policy, you can obtain an add-on for damages to the pool, and typically those damages are caused by other items under the policy, such as a tree falls in the pool and breaks things. It does not cover freezing water. If the pool is cracked or coping is tile are removed, that does not cover that. You also want to make sure you have coverage for liability. You're going to have a pool, you're going to have a party, you're going to have guests, you're going to have family and friends over. You want to make sure that your liability portion of your insurance policy covers losses for liability. And then another type of insurance that you should look into for your buyer, or the buyer should look into, and many times you obtain these policies at time of closing. They're policies such as, I'm going to use a name, I don't endorse them, American Home Shield. Okay, they cover items in the home that otherwise are not covered. You can get an add-on for the pool and spa. And with that add-on, it would cover the pool sweep motor and the pump motor, the blower motor and timer, the plumbing pipes and wiring, the plumbing and electrical, which are important items to be covered because, as I know, having owned a pool, and my wife said she'd never build another pool, but having owned a pool, it's expensive, but it also creates lots of happiness in the family. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Greg. And just a reminder to everybody, If you do have questions for any of our speakers, please put it in the chat box and we will address them at the end of the program.
Hey, Lisa, you
Yes.
know what? I can address a couple of the things that folks have been asking about getting specific escrow language from this event. We cannot publish or provide any specific escrow language here through an association event. I'm going to suggest that everyone refer to your PAR forms. Okay, go back to your forms. Greg is putting this information out here as an affiliate member. He's an affiliate member who is an attorney. It's up to Greg, how he relates to our members, but we cannot publish this through this event. So I encourage everyone to research on their own sources and information at this point. Thank you.
If it is permissible, I will accept an email request.
Okay.
I think we're providing email addresses of all of our speakers, correct, Lisa?
Yes, at the after the event, Siobhan's going to be sending an email, an email with the
Thank you.
recording and contact info.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. And it's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker now. It is Tim Swartz, and Tim is with AAA Club Alliance Insurance, and he's going to be talking about insurance coverages, service line and equipment breakdown insurance. Thanks so much, Tim.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And as you'll see, I'm coming from space and there's light coming in. It's not shining off my head, thankfully. Also, the purpose for that, normally I don't have that background, is because I made an error in judgment of where a drain pipe was from the second floor, and I punctured it when hanging things for my girlfriend. So thus this background. So normally I'm not in space, but so just a quick little update or background with respect to me. Apologize that my system is being a little grumpy right now, and I can't access my system. Weird. I can't see what I'm sharing here. I'm going to try this one other way here. Let me try
Greg, do
this.
you want me to share it for you? And you could just tell me when to move to the
Yeah,
next
if you
screen?
would. I'm sorry. That's
Yeah, sure.
something-
Let me try it. Okay.
This is just really weird.
No problem. Let me try it.
Thank you.
Okay, sure.
We're all learning the limits of technology, right? The gremlin.
Just leave it like that. That's fine. Just no big deal.
Oh, here you go. Just
Okay.
tell me. Okay.
Oh, look at you. You got it all. Okay. And just kind of quick little backstory. I've been an insurance agent for, January is my 30th year in the business. And I've been with AAA Insurance now for coming up on 4 years, and previously served as CEO of a 200-year-old insurance company for 5 years down in Baltimore, and chief operating officer of an insurance broker in Ocean City, Maryland. So I know about flood and old houses. And so one of those things that I talk about, I've tried to talk to my son about getting in the insurance business. No, it's too boring. But then you have issues and problems, and then it's not. So the two topics I'm going to be running through here relate to the service line and equipment breakdown coverage for homeowners insurance. And Greg just led into that very well for me here when he was talking about the equipment breakdown for pools and things like that. So if you wouldn't mind hitting the next for me. As far as equipment breakdown goes, there are many systems in the home that can go awry. And just one of the things in the bottom left there, Greg mentioned, was the full pool filtration systems. And with all the technology people are putting into homes, ring systems, monitoring systems for temperature, for water infiltration, computers, PCs, laptops, all those sorts of things can be incorporated into or added onto homeowners insurance policies. Not every insurance company offers this option at this point, but most are right now. And those that aren't are definitely on, behind the 8 ball on this because it's so prevalent. And with all the other companies, such as I think it was American Home Shield you mentioned, Greg, with respect to that, and Aqua, that's another one. They have all these different options to be able to offer. Within the homeowner's policy, it's really rather inexpensive, depending upon the company. There are different companies that have different deductibles and different limitations, requirements, age requirements of the equipment that they're going to say, hey, you got that 45-year-old water heater. We're not going to repair that. Some, certain things like that. My apologies to dog noise in the background, by the way. So there are a number of things that can go wrong here, as mentioned. And I'm not going to belabor that. You can read that. This will also be presented to you as well after the meeting, so you can take a look at those and see. If you could go on to the next screen, that'd be great, Lisa.
Sure.
Depending upon the company, there can be up to $100,000 limit, and some may go higher. The ones that I'm working with offer options for up to 100,000. Some others are 50. And I mentioned there the electronic circuitry for the smart home systems with the really high tech things that can go wrong. Those things can be replaced. Depending upon the company, different deductibles can be offered. So it might be a $250, $500, or $1,000 deductible. Some just say, hey, it's flat. This is it. This is your $500, or this is your $1,000 deductible, or whatever your homeowner's insurance policy deductible is. So it depends upon the company, and with a number of different companies, I have to do a little investigation to find out what each one does. The second bullet point there I have there, or asterisk point, relates to the environmentally friendly appliances. So if you have an older system that breaks down, depending upon the contract and the company that it's written with, more environmentally friendly devices can be installed at no additional charge. So, and there's a percentage increase. So if it might be a 25 or 35% additional. So if you have $1,000 dishwasher presently to replace it, and now it costs $1,350 or $1,250 to replace that device with a more environmentally friendly device, that's included in there as well. And that depends upon the company. So if you go on to the next one, that'd be great. And then we'll jump into service line. You've all seen this picture before in some way, shape, or form. Maybe not this house, but you've seen it where there's a problem between the foundation of the home and the street, where the connections are made for utilities. Service line coverage is obtained through homeowners insurance companies, and they can provide coverage if there's a problem in between there. And it can even be for some sort of degradation. A root cuts through a line or lifts a line, and you've got sewage coming in your yard. Homeowners policy standard, without this coverage, no coverage. This is inexpensive coverage, believe it or not. And I've seen them as little as $2 a month for the coverage. So it's really a cheap way to cover it. And I had a client of mine call me and basically losing his mind because his next door neighbor, whose home was built by the same builder in 1998, had to have his whole yard dug up, and he did not have this coverage. It cost $8,000 to dig this up, and he had to pull that out of his own pocket. There is an endorsement available, an additional coverage available through his carrier, but he didn't purchase it. Fortunately, my customer did, so he had that in case something similar happened. So if you jump to the next screen, that'd be great. And so this is the service line that I mentioned up there. It's curb to foundation. So basically where the connector goes in from the street until it hits your house. That's what we're talking about, these service lines. And it can be any one of those items listed there for the communication. So your internet access underground. This is all underground sort of stuff. Compressed air, exactly what that, I haven't seen that used, but can be in there. Drainage, so your sewage, underground electrical lines is their problem. Heating for geothermal or gas line. I had when I lived with some friends. Right after college, there was a gas leak in the yard. It had to be dug up, and that the landlord had to take care of that themselves. This was back in the 90s when I was young. Anyway, and then also waste disposal systems. So that's your sewage as well, and water. Feed lines coming into the home. So next screen, please. So critical thing to think, not all companies are offering it this time, but it's important to ask who has it and what's available and the cost. It's also, from what I've seen, it's much less expensive than buying one-off policies with other companies through the Aquas of the world that are offering these services. So with that said, I am done my presentation, and please call me if you have any questions. Last little bit, I'm licensed in Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware, and New Jersey. So that's all I have for you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Tim. And our last speaker, it's my pleasure to introduce to you, is Steve Hunn. Steve is with Inspection Professionals, LLC, and he's going to be talking about the inspection. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Just give me 1 second, see if I can get this up. Can we all see this? Yes. All right, great. So we're talking about surface water control. April showers will bring May flowers. I think maybe we've heard that a couple times in our past. So let's see. Doesn't want to go to the next screen. See if this will help. There we go. What is grading and why does it show up in every home inspection report? The number one enemy to a house is water control on a house, whether it's coming from the roof, the grades, the sides, anything of the sort. So we're always going to see that, because as the number one enemy to the house, we have to make sure we're keeping this house as tight as we can. One of the questions is, how do we manage this concern when explaining it to our clients, our buyers, and why is this so important to us? So what happens is we see the water drips down the outside walls of the house, it hits the ground or the grade. If it allows it to sit near the foundation wall, it could sink down into the ground and enter into the house. So what you will almost always hear a home inspector do is explain how to correct it. We recommend digging down 16 to 22 inches, replace it with a denser clay type of soil that has a slope of at least a quarter to a half an inch per foot away from the house. Put your topsoil back on top for cosmetic purposes. Any water that penetrates that topsoil hits the denser clay type of soil and would be diverted away from the house. And you know what? That sounds fine and dandy, and that's great. But the fact of the matter is, if we stop our explanation right there, we're really not doing our clients any favors. The best home inspectors out there that are educating their clients will make it a point to let them know that they would be doing them a disservice if they didn't share the following, and that is finding a house that has a grading challenge somewhere is so common to see that home inspectors see it in just about every house in all the land. And I would bet that every single realtor on this meeting right now is shaking their head yes. And it's important to let the clients know how common it is to see, okay? And the reason for that is keeping things in perspective will go a long way. Unfortunately, I know that some guys try to find problems to justify their fee, but educating the client so they can make the most informed decisions pretty important as well. And when you're able to keep things in perspective, that certainly helps. In many cases, sellers aren't going to do anything about the grading because they know they're not getting any water in the house. And we may get into the basement. We may find that the basement's perfectly dry, which would be music to our ears. That would be music to everybody's ears. So if the client ever chooses to regrade, they will know how to do it if they make that choice, if that makes sense. But once again, it's very important on how we explain this to our clients. So as we talked about, it's not what you say, it is very much how you say it. And here's an illustration where we get very, very often with settled backfill, allowing water to sit close to the property. Here is a slide that my daughter, who is a school teacher, was kind enough to tell me that it is way too much information on one page and that I should not be using it. And although I knew she was correct because I have done so many presentations all over the country, I left it here in the event that anybody needed it for any reason. This actually explains how to properly regrade. Remember that explanation I gave you of dig down 16 to 22 inches, replace it with a denser clay type of soil that has a slope. Well, that's all in here step by step. And most landscapers are there to make things look cosmetically soothing, and they're usually not hired to help with water control. So I am often asked to speak to landscapers and share with them step by step how we recommend properly regrading. That's really the only reason I put it in here. So if anybody ever needs this, they can certainly reach out to me and I'd be happy to share that with them as well. But yes, I do know it's way too much information for one page. So roof water control. How does this impact water penetration into below grade areas? You know, we talk about gutters, downspouts, and extensions. 95% of the time, when you have water penetration into a below grade area, and I mean like a crawl space, a basement, anything of the sort, it's due to poor water management coming off of the roof, meaning the gutters are clogged, downspouts are loose or broken, the extensions designed to take the water away from the house are missing, or we're just dumping the water right there near the foundation wall. So roof water absolutely plays a very huge part in water penetration, or water control of the roof plays a very big part of water penetration into a basement or a below grade area. So moving on, efflorescence. I would imagine we've all seen this white powdery substance on the wall of a basement, whether it's stone, brick, block in this case, poured concrete. You may see it at some of the cracks, which is pretty common to see as well. And what we get a lot are questions regarding, does this negatively impact the integrity? So what is efflorescence? We know that the soil gets wet on the outside of the basement wall. Well, the wall will retain some moisture as well. Now, what is holding, in this case, this is a block wall, but it could be stone or brick. What's holding the blocks, the stones, or the bricks together? And the answer is mortar. And the mortar is made up of three parts: water, lime, and sand. Actually, four parts, little stones like an aggregate. When the soil gets wet, the wall will retain some moisture as well. Eventually, they both dry, and during the drying process, the salt that's in the lime leaches through the wall, leaving this white powdery substance on the wall, which is called efflorescence. Yes, it is indicative that we have moisture on the other side of the wall underground. In my 23 years and over 8,000 inspections, I have yet to see the efflorescence negatively impact the integrity of a structure, okay? And this is something that can easily be corrected in the event it's an older stone wall and we start to get that sand coming out. We can certainly address that as well. Or let me rephrase that, it can be addressed, okay? What do we have here? Imagine you're on a home inspection with your buyer, and the home inspector takes a look at this discoloration on the wall. And I'm talking about the line on the wall, the dark discoloration. And the home inspector says something like, this is definitely related to water control, which is what we're talking about here. May even say something silly like it's a crack, may say anything of the above, and may also recommend further evaluation by a qualified specialist, which, by the way, is a pet peeve of mine. I think too many home inspectors are recommending further evaluation when we need to be coming to conclusions. With that being said, when you come across this in a house, what you want to know, and knowledge is power, this is something that often gets mistaken as a water penetration issue. It is not. Okay, this is called a cold joint. And imagine this is a new construction house, and tomorrow morning we're going to pour the concrete walls on this house, and the superintendent on the job site is there, and he knows we need 13 cement trucks to give us enough cement to pour the concrete walls in this house. And he counts them in the morning as they're pulling up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's only 12. And he says to the guy from the concrete company, it's like, we're short one truck. We're going to have a problem. And the guy says, you know what? Normally you'd be correct. However, if all the trucks are properly filled all the way to the top, we're going to have enough. And he gives him one of these looks. You better be right. So they pour all the trucks and they get to the 12th truck, and it only goes up to where that dark line is. So we're missing concrete above that line. Well, what happens? They get on the phone. They tell the company, we better send another truck out right away. That truck's on its way. It'll probably be here in about a half hour or so, 35 minutes. And while that truck is en route, what is happening to the concrete that's already been poured? It's curing or hardening. Now, if you know anybody, or if you've ever worked with concrete, even if you're just pouring a concrete footing to put a basketball court up, all the water in that concrete and that cement will start to rise to the top. So they'll try to vacuum as much as that off as they can, but once they put the new pour on top, you're often going to have this discoloration called a cold joint. Once again, I have never seen a cold joint like this ever negatively impact the integrity of a structure or a foundation wall. But the last thing I want to happen is I want you to recognize what the concerns are associated with water penetration. This is not one of them. This is not caused by water penetration. Okay. Hydrostatic pressure. How does it impact the foundation walls and retaining walls as well? So what happens is the water sits near the foundation wall of the house, maybe roof water, maybe poor grading, sinks down into the soil. Soil gets wet. In the wintertime, it will expand and it will contract. And eventually it will start pushing in on the wall. And it can do that. That's why retaining walls, which are walls on the outside of the house, one side holding back nothing, the other side holding back grass, soil, dirt, things of that nature. That's why we often see them where they're leaning. Okay, it's the hydrostatic pressure that's building up, causing them to push into the wall. So as we enter this spring market, we're very much trying to pay close attention to water and controlling the water so we don't have any of these issues. And that is all that I have for this. I hope I didn't go over my time. I will clear this. And thank you for your time, everybody.
Thank you, Steve. We do, as a reminder, if you have any questions for any of our speakers today, please put them in the chat box. We do have one question that came in from Marie Higgins, and it's for you, Greg. And I might ask you to unmute yourself, Marie. The question is, what about artificial ponds? So Marie, I don't know if you want to elaborate on that question.
Well, just in my area, a lot of people have built ponds in their backyard, and what are the guidelines for that?
Oh, I do have some experience with that, and thanks for the question. I'm unmuted, right?
Yes.
Okay. Some municipalities have required permits for building a pond because it affects grading. It could affect your neighbor's property. Some ponds are on two different properties. Property owners share ponds. And then you've got different concerns. Who's responsible for maintaining the pond? Ponds also generate mosquitoes. Ponds can be dangerous for children and for animals. Vegetation in ponds can grow like bamboo. You put the wrong vegetation in a pond and soon you've got a big grass wetland, not a pond. If there are concerns regarding the pond, it would be my suggestion that you have a pond inspection done. And Steve, sorry for that, recommending it somebody else to inspect, but ponds are different than swimming pools. I taught for years at Delaware Valley College and and I also grew up on a farm. So you really have to be concerned about what you do with the earth around your home. A pond can actually drain water into the basement of a home if it's located uphill, and also can damage a pool if it's uphill. So I would just, check with your inspector if they're going to inspect the pond. Maybe the inspector has a recommendation. Steve, maybe you have a comment or two you can throw in.
Happy to do so. Ponds, much like pools, depends on how close they are to the house. I don't really want to get into the inspection part of that, but one of the things you typically will see with a pond and also the pool is you always want to make sure the apron adjacent to the coping slopes away from the pool. You don't want rainwater to automatically fill the pool up. So we pay close attention to how close that pool is to the house. We know the apron is sloping it away from the house, away from the pool, which often means it might be sloping it towards the house. So we pay close attention to that as well. But to be quite honest, the ponds, the pumps, everything associated with that, I agree with you, Greg. You want to get a specialist in there who is very familiar with that and keeping it clean, keeping the algae out. Especially if you're going to have any type of fish inside there. So it's, I may have thousands of home inspections and doing this for years, but I will not pretend I know what I'm talking about when it comes to maintaining those because I don't. So.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Greg. Thank you,
Welcome.
Steve. We do have a question for you, Tim, from Dana Gray. Is there insurance needed for ponds, liability and or damage like pools?
Interesting. I will say it depends on the company. There's not a specific extra policy, but companies may say, depending upon where the pond's located in relation to other structures, other properties, companies might get queasy and just say, hey, you know what, your pool, this is obviously an extreme example, but your pond is right next to a daycare center. You better put up a fence, and we're not writing your policy. Now that's an extreme example, and I've never personally seen that, but a specific extra policy, no. Companies will want to know, do you have a pool? Do you have a pond? Do you have a hot tub? Those are the questions that go in, and they'll go out and inspect. And they may make a recommendation. Hey, you need to fence in that pond. Otherwise, we're canceling because it's potentially a much greater risk for liabilities suit.
Okay, and Linda Crane, you had a question earlier, but I think it was answered already. Linda, you had a question about standardized coverage when they do add it. If you could unmute, Linda, and just.
So Tim pretty much answered it. I think that there isn't a standardized form that everybody uses when they add the coverage. Different companies can have different levels of coverage and things that they cover and that sort of thing.
That's absolutely right, because every company wants to differentiate.
Right.
That's really what it comes down to. And it just could be little things in there or extra bells and whistles. And so it really is dependent upon the company that's writing it. And then you just can ask for that portion of the contract. I just did that just the other day with somebody. They said, hey, I want to know exactly what's in there. I just pulled down the form and sent it to them and just reviewed it before I sent it to them, of course, just to make sure that, it had what they needed and just pinpointed exactly what they were seeking.
Got it. Thank you.
And Steve, did you want to mention about fence height, gate self-closing and latching?
Yes, it's as much of a question for our other experts as anything. I know during home inspections that there's a requirement for fence height, and some municipalities might be different than others, but also very importantly, and I know you started to touch on it with having a pond or a pool near a childcare facility. You want to make sure that that gate is self-closing. It has a self-closer that is operable. And then once it closes, it must latch as well. Pretty important. God forbid you have a neighborhood kid that wanders into your backyard and your fence is not latched or isn't high enough. So I would imagine Greg might be able to speak to that with more information than I could. These are just some of the things that we do look for.
Right. I would only add that you're right with the, each municipality is different. I know when I built the pool in Doylestown Township, the municipality had a requirement for a 4-foot fence. I'm sorry, a 5-foot fence. But our deed restriction prevented us from building a fence over 4 feet. So I had to do grading to raise up the earth and then put the fence on top of that berm. So there are solutions, but check with the municipality.
And I might chime in here with respect to what Stephen said regarding the fencing, self-locking, self-closing gates. And even with that, I've seen horrible events. Down in Ocean City, Maryland, there was a family, they had like multi-million-dollar home on the water, on the bayside. And they had a pool, and they were just about finished the home, and had the fence put around it. And a child, they didn't, sadly, didn't put the fence down low enough. Child climbed under and went in and drowned. Unfortunately, that same family, that child that had died, they built the home, and then right before their it got struck, that same home got struck by lightning and went to the ground, so they had to build it back again. So, but that's a whole different story.
All right, well, I don't see any other questions. Just as a reminder, we will be sending out, you'll be receiving from us a copy of the recording from today, as well as contact information from all of our speakers today. I don't know, Pam, if you have any closing remarks as well.
I just want to thank our affiliate members for coming forth and helping us with this. It's been a great presentation. I thank you all for your help. And I wanted to remind everyone that we do have a directory of all of our affiliate members on our website. And it's easy to find help when you need it. And these folks are great help to our Realtor members. And again, thank you. And thanks to everyone for taking time out of your day. And keep your eyes peeled. We've got more events on the way. And Lisa and the Education Committee are busy planning for you. So thanks a lot. I hope everybody can get outside at some point today. It looks gorgeous out there. I haven't managed to do it, but maybe somebody else will.
We have one more question, if it's not too late. Who is responsible for ensuring a grading near a pool? And it's from Nydia.
Yes.
I don't know if that's Tim. Did he pop off already, or?
That, as far as grading, anything related to, from my perspective, that's the property owner's requirement to maintain, grading. So if you're sitting up above me on a hill, and I'm just trying to think of a situation with respect to that. You might have a municipal requirement that it flows down, down into a culvert or something, and not down into my property. So if you hit, if your pool, pond, whatever, grade, and it fails and comes down and floods my house, that's a flood. So that's flood insurance. So that's completely different from anything we've spoken about here. But then I'd come back and sue you, if that's your property, for failing to maintain, the proper requirements for grading and maintenance, et cetera.
So the homeowner insurance won't cover anything with the patio that is in the pool that is under the grading?
The maintenance period is not homeowners insurance. So if the ground just drops and sinks and now the grading is, falls away, absolutely not an insurance issue.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right. And thank you, everyone. And as Pam said, try to get out and enjoy the day. And we do have a class next week on using Google and learning how to use Google. And we have Craig Grant speaking, and that's next Tuesday. So make sure to sign up for that. And thanks again to all of our speakers for today.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Talk to everyone soon. Bye-bye.